You might be wondering why this whole quest to find a husband for Sita is centered around this bow. The bow used to belong to Parshurama, who is also described as an incarnation, and it was given to him by Lord Shiva. And this bow was such that, as we saw previously, nobody else could lift it, except Parshurama. One day, Parshurama had sort of left the bow somewhere, and Sitaji and King Janak happened to be there. So Parshuram left his bow, he walked away for something, and he came back, and the bow is missing. So now he's wondering, who is it that could possibly have lifted this bow? And Janak Maharaj tells him that actually Sitaji is the one who lifted it up. And through that, Parshurama recognizes that Sitaji is no ordinary girl, and therefore he's very happy for her to keep it. And so it stays with her, and it goes to Mithila with Sitaji and Janak Maharaj. Now, after the bow is broken, and it's decided that Ram will be the one to marry Sita, Parshurama appears on the scene, and he is not happy. He has heard that the bow is broken, and he is actually furious. So he arrives there, and he's sort of asking, who is it that has broken this bow? Nobody is standing up and saying anything. But there's actually this sort of humorous episode where you see Lakshman sort of standing up and verbally sparring with Parshuram, really kind of making fun of him a little bit for getting so upset. And, Parshuram is sort of like, who could lift up this bow? This is the greatest bow ever. And Lakshman sort of says, well, we've been playing with bows our whole lives. How would we know what's special and what's not? This is just like child's play for us. And so this whole dialogue goes on between them up until the point where Ram looks at Lakshman and is like, okay, now just sit down. You've made fun of him enough. And at that point, Ram stands up and says, forgive me for any mistake that I've made, but I was the one who broke the bow. And the purpose actually of Parshuram coming there is he knows that Sitaji is special because she picked up this bow when she was just a girl. And so he wants to make sure that the person who has lifted it now is worthy of Sitaji. So once he finds out that Ram is the one who has lifted the bow, he recognizes that Ram too is an avatar. And so actually he's very happy, and he ends up leaving the assembly very peacefully and sort of retires to an ashram to live out the rest of his life. So now all obstacles are gone. They've moved past any possible objections, and it's time for the wedding. Now there is huge celebration and festivity in Mithila. The wedding can't happen without the groom's parents. So Dashrath Maharaj is informed, and he is called from Ayodhya. And in the time that it takes him to arrive, all arrangements are made. The city is decorated. Everybody is sort of being gifted with so many different things. From the citizens to the ministers to all the sort of holy people. And Dashrath Maharaj arrives, and the wedding of Ram and Sita takes place. Just as it's about to take place, somebody says, Sita has a sister, and Ram has a brother. And Janak Maharaj has a brother who has 2 daughters, and Ram and Lakshman have 2 more brothers. So, you're getting one of them married. Why not just get everyone married? Instead of having multiple weddings, just get everybody done at the same time. And so everybody agrees, including the brothers and sisters. And so as Ram marries Sita, Lakshman marries Urmila, who is Sita's sister, and Bharat marries Mandavi, and Shatrughna marries Shrutakirti. So there is a quadruple wedding taking place. And again, lots of festivity. There is long descriptions about how beautifully everything is done. The festivities are concluded, and it's time for everyone to now return to Ayodhya. And it's described how King Janaka, despite being this very sort of wise and dispassionate king, when the time comes to say goodbye to his daughter, he is also overwhelmed with emotion. And, finds it very difficult to say goodbye to Sita, but also recognizes that this is the next stage in her life. And she also wants to go. She doesn't want to stay. It's time for her to start her married life. And so they all depart and arrive in Ayodhya, where they again met with huge celebrations. The entire city has been waiting since Ram and Lakshman left to receive them again. So this is a homecoming, but it's even more special because now not only has Ram returned, but he's brought Sita with him. And as soon as all the citizens of Ayodhya see Sita, they, of course, feel great love for her as well. And all four brothers and their wives go and meet the mothers, Kausalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. And there is this great sort of joyous reunion that takes place. And everyone is happy. Everyone is glad to have them back. And this is where we conclude the first chapter of the Ramayana, which describes the sort of childhood of Ram. Now, in terms of this marriage, again, there is a deep significance. Ram represents the truth. Ram is an incarnation of the Lord. And Sita represents the creative power that gives rise to this whole universe. And so the union is one which is not just human, but is symbolic of the truth behind the universe and the creative power that gives rise to this world. The spiritual significance is that Ram represents knowledge and Sita represents devotion. And so them coming together is this beautiful confluence of wisdom and love. And in spirituality, these two things coming together are very important. It is so essential for us to not only have a clear understanding of ourselves, of the world, of God, but also for that understanding to give rise to love for ourselves, but also for the entire creation. They both enrich each other. Knowledge supports devotion, and devotion gives sweetness to knowledge. The third significance that is pointed out is Ram represents bliss, and Sita represents peace. Because where there is bliss, not the bliss that we're familiar with, the joy of experiencing the world, is different from this type of bliss. But where there is true bliss, in which there is no duality, there is true peace. And so the union of Ram and Sita is this experience of bliss and peace together. We also see how in the Swayamvar, when this bow was being, when this event was held, everyone looked at Sita differently. So even after Ram had broken the bow, there was still some princes or kings there who had this thought in their mind that, it doesn't matter if Ram is the one who's broken the bow. Maybe we'll just abduct Sita ji and we'll carry her off and we'll get married to her. Some of them were still looking at her with desire in their mind. And the significance here is that Sita also represents, as the creative power behind the world, she also represents nature. So the question for us is, what is our attitude to nature, and what should be the ideal attitude towards nature? Some seek to conquer nature, right? To bend nature to our will. And this you see in human history, that we are constantly trying to make nature work for us. Some seek to exploit nature for our own gain. What we see in the union between Ram and Sita is that Ram is the only one who can be matched with Sita as nature. And for everyone else, the attitude towards her, the attitude towards nature, is that nature is our mother. And therefore, what the way in which we approach nature is really with an attitude of service. Nature is not there for us to exploit, for us to enjoy for our own benefit, disregarding the consequences. Nature is there for us to serve, and through serving her, we also are benefited. So a question for us to ponder is, what is our attitude to our environment, to the world around us, and to nature? Do we seek to enjoy, or do we seek to serve? Hari Om.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Living Ramayana. To stay updated on Chinmaya Mission UK's activities, visit our website chinmayauk.org and follow us on social media. Subscribe to this podcast and join us for the next episode. Hari Om.